Greetings, friend! How are you doing today? I have one question for you today. Look at my background here. Look at my background closely. What do you think is behind the gate? You seeing like a gate there? What do you think is behind the gate? It is right now on Zoom, it's a virtual background, but this is an actual place. And so what do you think is behind that gates there? And it's very interesting. But for us in general, what a lot of time we think that we see is it is when we look at something, we see and we say, oh, this is what it is. And the same thing when things going on in life, we look at things in a certain way. You have something going on in your life, you look at it in a certain way, and therefore you perceive it, you see it, that it is what it is. But many times that science actually has shown that we don't see things with our eyes. Yes, our eyes allow us to perceive things. It's like a camera lens, but we actually see things with our mind. And so, in other words, you can show somebody the exact same picture. And one person might say, oh, this is what I'm seeing with this picture. And another person completely different understanding, perhaps different background, different culture, or whatsoever, might look at it and say, oh, this is what I'm seeing. These people looking at exactly the same thing. The same pictures. We have, if you taken Psychology 101 in the United States at least, and back in the day when I used to take Psychology 101, long time ago, 30 years ago now, then more than 30 years, then they shown us many different pictures that says, look at this, you can look at this is, and now do you see this one, now do you see that one, now do you see, it's very interesting, isn't it? And so that's because saying that what you see, whether it is an actual object or what's going on in your life, is actually basically dependent on what's in your mind, and what's in your mind is influenced by your experience, by your knowledge, by your understanding of life, by your very recent experience as well as your past experience, and on and so on and so on and so forth, all the things that influence your mind. And so my peace of mind tip for you today is, whenever you experience anything unpleasant in life, to remember that what you are seeing or feeling is based on what you, at this level of your awareness, able to see and perceive. Now, have you ever have a time in your life, perhaps recently, where you experience something, or you look back in your life, and some 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago, something like that, and you're like, yeah, well, I didn't know anything back then. I was so scared, or you might say to yourself, I was so scared, I was so confused, and what have you. And if only I had known now, then I wouldn't have been confused. What you know now, you wouldn't even have worry at all, or you wouldn't have been confused, or what have you. Because now, 20 years later, with additional 20 or 10 or 30 years of experience of life and learning and so forth, you have different mind that able to see things differently. The things happening in life now that if back then, but you would have been scared or panicked or this or that, and with a different understanding of life, then you are able to say, you know what, this is what it is, and yeah, I have done this, I've been through this and that, and I understand this and that, and it is not something that's going to worry me anymore. So my peace of mind tip for you is, if something going on in your life that you prefer is not going on, to remember that what you can see what you can see is limited by your mind. What you can see of the circumstance of these situations is absolutely limited by your mind, and also how attached to you, because that's also can cloud your mind. There's a beach ball here. This is a beach ball here, and what you can see if you have is limited. And also, if you are very close to, let's say, one side of the beach ball here, you're like that close to the beach ball, you can only see what's right in front of you, and not being able to, let's say, if you were to detach yourself from what it is, and then your mind opened up and said, oh, the beach ball actually is a nice multicolored circle of things, instead of everything is blue and gloom and gloomy. And so when something happens, remember that what you can see is actually influenced by your mind, what's going on. And also, that's also why it's actually very important when things going on. And I do this on regular basis. I have friends that do this, coaches, master, and typically these are people who are master coaches who knows to do this. Interesting, isn't that? Many people, when they have problem, they have challenges, they kind of like hunker down like that. For us who has studied this enough, we actually learn that when we encounter challenge, we know that it's opportunity, and we actually reach out very quickly. We reach out very quickly and say, hey, you know what? This is going on in my life, and this is all I can see. What do you see? And I would say the reasons we do that, the master coaches do that, is because we have full awareness in our mind, in our background, in our awareness, that we are so, as an individual, was so limited, and we can be so attached to something that we could not see the whole picture. We could not see it from different angle, and so we always invite our friends, our colleague, to help us out and say, what can you see that I can't see? Because we know that there must be a different way to see this. And so if you are going through things, or you know somebody going through things, it's always helpful. It's always helpful to be able to see things with a different mind. And particularly if you are able to have somebody with a different and more expanded mind, a much less attached and much more expanded mind, that to be able to see things than what you are able to see, or what whomever loved one that you have able to see and you able to see. And so feel welcome to reach out to me if you ever going through anything that you would love some support to be able to see things beyond on what you personally could see. When you connect with me through my websites, there is an opportunity. You can ask for laser coaching, complimentary 30 minutes, because sometimes all we need to do, many times people come to me and they're like, all this thing, and I said, okay, let's look at this in a different way. Let's look at this in a different way. And just in 15-20 minutes, people say, oh yeah, now I can see it in a different way. And sometimes some people need more help, and many times people like, oh, okay, now I can see this, I can understand this in a different way. All right, I feel about 99% better already, and move on with life, and that's so wonderful. But my peace of mind tip for you today is to actually, whenever things going on in life, to ask, what else? How else can I see this? How else can I see this? Knowing and remembering that what you see with your mind, not just your eyes. Basically, you see with your mind. Like whatever that's behind that gates, that many different people give different answer all the time. And so I invite you to join me to just practice that. And whenever you see something new that you've never seen, a picture or something, and this is something you can also practice actually. Whenever you see something new that you never seen, let's say a new picture or a new place or a new anything, just ask yourself, can I see this? You look at it, and you're like, oh, this is what I see, this is what I see. And then take yourself a step back, and perhaps if it is a picture, you can even turn it around, and if it's not, at least take yourself a step back and then say, okay, now that I initially see it this way, what else can I see? Or can I see this differently? Like, is this a sunrise or this is a sunset? It's always a good question, right? Is this a sunrise? This is a morning sun? Or this is the sun going down in the afternoon, just like the sun image, the photo of the sun. It's an actual photo of the sun behind me here. So is it a sunrise, or is it a sun going up, or a sun going down? Is this morning sun or afternoon sun, do you think? And so look at it and say, every time you see something new, this is a practice you can see. You look at it and you say, I know I have seen it the first time. Out of my first perception was this. Is there a way for me to see it differently? What other ways can I see this differently? What was my thought, your first thought, when I asked you about what's behind the gate? And then what else can you imagine to be behind the gate in this particular scenario? And as you practice this, it actually expand your ability to see things from multiple angles in multiple different way. And when things happen in your life, you kind of semi-automatically can move into that place, and you are a lot less likely to need help if you practicing this all along while things are good. And so that's another piece of mind tip for you today as well. So it's kind of 2-in-1 to first of all remember that you see with your mind, and then to give yourself the gift of practicing seeing the same thing differently, and it's actually something very, very helpful for us as we navigate through life. And this is Budget with From Grieving to Joyful Living. I see that as you practice this and you employ this in your life as you are going through life, then you will be able to have more ease, more peace of mind, more joy, and live a wonderful, thriving day to day, and a wonderful, thriving life. And before you know it, you look back to 1 year, 3 years, 10 years from now, and you say, wow, thank goodness I employ these practices and tips that make my life so much easier. And I see that you have a beautiful day, the rest of your day, and I look forward to see you again very, very soon.